Hello and welcome once again to another week of Geek News and Craft Brews, our weekly dive into everything in geek and nerd culture that matter to us. I'm Steven.
And I'm Chris.
And of course we are joined by the only substance more dangerous to Superman than kryptonite, and that's alcohol.
Alcohol, yes.
Chris, what are you drinking this week?
I'm drinking some Horny Goat brownie-flavored porter. Yes, Horny Goat.
That is the best artwork I've ever seen.
It's great, yeah. They're out of Wisconsin, so it's very fun. I've had a couple of Horny Goats before, but this is my first time trying their brownie-flavored porter. So we'll see what it's all about here. I'm a big fan of porters, and I don't know anyone that hates brownies. Here's the artwork that it's talking about there. That little sexy goat on there.
Sexy goat.
Serving a tray of brownies.
People on the podcast like, I can't see it, stupid.
I know, yeah. So just
you'll just have to go on our Facebook
some,
page and check out our beer profiles that'll come out every Sunday.
There you go.
Yeah.
What are you drinking, buddy?
I am drinking vanilla porter from
porter.
Breckenridge Brewery. I've never had it before, but you have, and you say it's
yes.
nice.
I'm a big fan of porters. This one's one of my top 2 porters of all time. Mm-hmm. I love this.
Yeah, like I said, it's from Breckenridge Brewery here in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited. I mean, you can't go wrong with vanilla porter. So I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully it doesn't disappoint.
Oh, yeah, I don't think it will. I think you're going to really like that. I'm interested to see how this works, though. These might actually be pretty good if you mix them up. Vanilla brownie, I don't know.
Vanilla brownie, yeah.
Well, here, cheers.
Yeah. Cheers to another week of podcasts.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's jump into it. Actually, the first thing we had on our list to talk about is interesting video game news, because it's
a lot of video games this week.
A lot of video game news this week coming out. You can kind of wrangle it all into that video game sense, but it's going to break into other genres. It's going to break into movies, just comic book culture. Star Wars going to represent a little bit.
Heck yeah.
But anyways, the first thing we want to talk about is Interstellar. Interstellar, the new movie with Matthew McConaughey, is coming out with a game that goes along with it.
That's interesting.
And as most things do, I mean, modern movies, even if they're terrible games, they're going to come out with something that comes along with it.
Yeah, but usually it comes out at the time of, or actually usually before the release of the movie. Mm-hmm. Typically.
Just kind of like a teaser for the movie, and just...
Well, yeah, it's a great way to tell that game's going to suck.
Yes.
If it's a movie-based game and it comes out before the movie or around the same time.
But typically, not great video games, but they're always some release. But this one has something extremely interesting about it.
Is it like a survival horror?
It is a text-based game.
What? That's not at all new, but so old that it's new again.
Yeah,
wow.
It's based off the video game Zorg from like the 80s. It's a text-based game that you can play for free on your just web browser. I'll post a link to that in the description of this, and also in the comment section on Facebook, so you can check it out. I mean, I've played very little bit of it, but it is a true text-based adventure game.
That's I'm really curious about that now, because it's been a long time since I've played a text-based game.
Yeah, you type in your responses and stuff. You have a little robot companion that will give you kind of all the commands you can put in. So if you type help during any point, it'll say like, oh, you can type like sleep to go to sleep, you can type relax to like rest your eyes, you can look around, you can go this way, that, and then list all these certain things you do. Then you have to type out this, and it's an experience that a lot of the kind of younger generation will have never had before.
Well, certainly. I mean, even us Gen Xers, I guess, I would probably fall into that category. I don't know. I'm sure there's some sort of technical term, but at any rate, I was born at the tail end of the 70s, to give you guys an idea. And yeah, I only experienced maybe 3 text-based games that I played in my lifetime, and they all happened when I was a young boy.
Yeah, it's definitely something that went out of style as soon as the graphics were good enough to tell the story and also be visually appealing.
Not even. the best way I could describe a text-based game is, I guess it's a lot like playing a role-playing game. Mm-hmm. Really, if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that, as far as a tabletop role-playing game.
Yes.
Yeah, not
like a Skyrim.
Not type. Skyrim or Fallout or anything like that.
Because those are what killed the text-based game.
Yeah, it's not the same.
You give a dedicated text-based game player from like the 70s and 80s Skyrim, just blow their mind.
Oh yeah, if you could just transport them instantly into that world of modern gaming. Yeah, so you'll type in things like, turn left or walk to the door or pick up the hammer kind of thing. So it's very specific, verb down, very simple sentence structure. And after you would type that in, you would get a description that you would read about what you saw or experienced after you did that. Yeah,
much like the Dungeon Master would in a role-playing game.
Exactly, yeah.
The computer takes the place of that and says, and instead of rolling, it's just purely action-based, really.
Exactly, yeah. A lot of... I can see why they're doing it with Interstellar here, because it's a lot of mystery-based games, essentially. A lot of it was trying to get yourself out of the dungeon. I don't remember if I ever played Zorg. Actually, I don't remember the names of the text-based games I played. That's how long ago they were. Because once I found graphic games, really, it's just...
it's done.
Why would I...
Why go back to that?
Yeah, but at
Except
this point,
in like the sense of the D&D type games where you're with a group of your friends. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, if you could have that same experience, I guess you can with like online...
Yeah, there's a great website called, especially for online role-playing, like tabletop role-playing, but online. It's, I think it's Roll20.
Yeah,
.com or .net or something like that.
That's really as close as you get to these, because...
Yeah, well, I know people who still have the role-playing groups that they play with, like Google Hangouts or Skype or something like that. But that Roll20 website specifically designed to facilitate role-playing games. But it even has more graphics than a text-based game because it'll have maps and stuff on there for you. Mm-hmm. So this is really a throwback to retro.
A pixelated space screen. It's got like a little bit of design on there. And it's just text that flows down.
That's really cool. Yeah. Especially with all the stuff they could do with that now. We all know... Obviously, that game engines are far more powerful now than they were then. Mm-hmm. So they could do all sorts of fun options that text-based games back then never could do. Like launch you into graphics all of a sudden, maybe.
And something that was kind of like on our list to talk about a couple weeks ago, but we just never had time to do it. The Unreal Engine, which is what most of modern games are based off of. Like, the next Gears of War is going to be on it, the next Fable, Final Fantasy. That's free now. Like, you can download that from the internet. It's
open source now.
Yeah,
That's
it's open
awesome.
source. And if you release a game and you sell it, it's, I think, 5% royalties.
Wow, they make it pretty simple then. Huh?
Yeah, but you can create intense graphic movies off of it, cutting-edge games, and all this stuff is available for you. And it's not easy to get into, but it's easy to get to these giant open-source engines. And throwing it back to like this text game, it's just something I never thought I would see from a major production like Interstellar.
Yeah, especially for something that's coming back like a year after the movie came out. Mm-hmm. So it's probably pretty polished. It's probably going to be a really good game to play.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't played much of it, but I'm going back in there. Like, after this, I'm definitely
going to go play.
I'm going to go play and check it out.
Now that I know about it, I want to check that out, too. I'll go watch Interstellar again. Matt McConaughey. Man, who does a big, awesome, badass movie like that and then goes to do car commercials, like, the next month? You know?
Yeah.
What was that about? Weird.
It was just him talking to himself in the car, too. It was a really strange commercial.
Well, I'll watch people talking to themselves.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that was pretty strange. Lincoln must have really shelled out some cash for him to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's not like he's on the bottom of this game by any means.
No, he had a huge resurgence with Wolf of Wall Street, Texas Buyers Club, or Texas something Club. Then Interstellar. I mean, he's huge right now. I don't know. It's.
How do you like that vanilla porter?
I gotta say, it's very good. It's one of my favorites, early favorites. I still halfway through the glass, but I mean, it's everything I would have hoped for and more in this porter.
It's a fan. This is pretty good. It's not quite as brownie-ish as I thought it was going to be.
Just moderately brownie.
Maybe I should have expected that though, because I've had chocolate porters and stuff before, and they definitely have that chocolate undertone, and this is very not as much chocolate undertone at all. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, if it was going to be a chocolate porter, though, they'd probably call it chocolate, not brownie. Yeah. So it's a little bit there, but...
And I mean, we've had good chocolate porters in the past.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. At any rate...
yeah. Kind of a tangent, but kind of speaking of classic gaming, there's a movie that's coming out summer 2015. I don't think it has a release date yet, but a movie called Pixels.
Right, yeah. I saw the trailer today.
You need to watch this trailer first off.
Right.
It's... Alright, I'll try to explain it the best I can. Pixels is a movie based around the premise of in the, 70s, 80s?
I was going to say 80s video games.
80s, we set up a rocket ship that held essentially a time capsule.
Oh, yeah.
Which had this kind of picture of what society was like, and it included video games like Pac-Man and Super Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, all that. And we sent it up into space as like a peace message, like, hey, we're pretty cool. We think you're pretty cool. Come hang out with us.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that capsule, but if it's the same one I'm talking about, that I'm thinking of, yeah, they just had they like engraved a picture of a person, and they included all sorts of just examples of human culture at the time, and just launched it out into space.
Yeah.
To see what happens.
And this movie says that aliens found it.
Yeah.
They did not take it as a peaceful message. They took it as, like, look at all our violent video games and, like,
declaration of war.
Intrusive culture. This is war. We are coming for you. So what they do is they recreate these video game icons. They recreate the Donkey Kongs, the Pac-Mans, all these, like, video game personalities, and send them down to Earth as invaders.
Yeah, so Earth gets invaded essentially by its own 80s video games. Now, it sounds pretty awesome. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. My biggest hang-up on this is that Adam Sandler's face was all over those previews, so he's in the movie. Yeah,
Adam Sandler and Kevin James are the stars of this new movie coming out.
Makes me hesitant. Clearly makes me hesitant. And mostly because of Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those sucked. Those were bad.
Kids loved them, but they were not good movies.
They were not good.
Kids are wrong.
Yeah, well, kids love any movie that makes fun of adults. Looks adults as being completely incompetent. And it did a good job at that. Now, Adam Sandler's made some awesome movies.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, to give him full credit, you know, you have to look at the man's entire scope of his career, and he's done some really, really fun classic comedies.
I'll still watch Happy Gilmore.
Oh yeah, it's so good. You know, Waterboy's another example of just, you know, we were talking podcast previous about sports and geek culture and.
Bobby Boucher at linebacker.
It's just so funny, so good. You know, you have the Fonz in there, coach and stuff. At any rate, so he's done some really good stuff, but just lately, Adam, your material's been really crappy. I mean, it's better than any movie I've ever come out with, which has been zero.
True.
So, but still, man, it's nothing compared.
He's becoming the comedy version of Nicolas Cage, it seems.
Ooh, yeah, that's
which
rough.
Is not
it's
a
not a
good
compliment.
thing.
No, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, he seems to take any script, no matter how bad it is, and Jack and Jill is proof of that.
Well, yeah, I think he started to want to do stuff that was just definitely more family friendly. You know, I think he has kids of his own, and he wants to make stuff that they can enjoy and all that.
But I mean, Chris Rock did the same thing, and he came out with Shrek. Like, you can do it in a good way.
Yeah, you can do it better. Yeah, he should have picked and choose.
Better. Or not Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Eddie Murphy did a bunch of kid-friendly type movies. He did some sort of ghost movie, I think.
Which was not as good. I'll say that much. But
yeah.
Eddie Murphy did the whole...
Shrek wasn't Eddie Murphy. Pixar was Shrek.
Yeah, but he chose a good movie.
Yeah, he chose a good one. That's what I'm
saying. You can do this whole, I have a family now, I want to be family friendly, and do it in a way that...
I think it was Pixar. Shrek Pixar?
Yeah, Shrek is Pixar.
Okay, good.
But you could do it in a way that you still pick good scripts, you still pick good movies, and you go in those, not these kind of almost throwaway movies that he's been in.
Yeah, he's well, and I think he's been actually involved as like producer level.
That might be how they got him on,
which is even worse. You know, I mean, I totally understand if you're in the acting business and you get a script and it reads well and you do the film and you think it's going to turn out well, and for whatever reason, the editing choices, the director, the post-production choices can really fuck with what you originally thought the film was going to be. So, you know, you just got to give them the, sure, you know, you have a stinker here and there, it happens.
Yeah. Unless you pull like a Kevin Smith and do everything start to finish, you're going to have some issues.
Yeah. And even Smith has had some bombs out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zack and Miri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He made Clerks in Red State, which I'll forgive you for Zack and Miri.
Oh, yeah. Red State was great.
Red State was intense and awesome. You should watch Red State, everyone out there.
That was pretty good.
It's messed up, though. I'll warn you of that.
I am a little hesitant about this, though, specifically because Sandler and Kevin James, the last projects that they've worked on together, and Kevin James has been known for some really shitty movies, too.
Yeah,
like Mall Cops or something like that.
Yeah, Paul Blart Mall Cop. I never saw the one I'm going to talk about, but he had a movie come out. It was like he was this teacher, and he needed money, so he went into like MMA, and I
never even heard of that.
Yeah, I saw a preview, and it looks like Morgan Freeman knocked him out at one point, but we checked and it wasn't him. Oh. But if it was, I would have seen the movie just to see Morgan Freeman knock out Kevin James, but it looks like a really kind of D-rate comedy movie trying to play off of like Warrior and all the MMA movies that were coming out recently that were gaining a lot of popularity. It was just like a comedy version of it.
Well, at any rate, a lot of Kevin James's films suck.
Yes.
I can think of more that suck than those that are good.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate, because he seems like a pretty funny guy on his own, but...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that King of Queens show wasn't terrible.
No. Yeah,
it was pretty funny. It had funny scenes. Although I think some of the other cast members were the reasons I watched it mostly. What a hot wife. So yeah, that's definitely my biggest trepidation with Pixels here is who's in it.
Yeah, the acting choices.
Yeah, the acting choices. I'm not sure exactly how involved Kevin...
Adam Sandler?
Yeah, I mean, Adam Sandler is in it. If he's like a producer or whatnot, it would have been an easy cursory internet search before we started this, but that's all right. I'll let the audience do that if they're really that interested. Yeah, I'm interested to see what other people think.
Yeah. Let's hypothetically, you're in this scenario. Who would be the one like retro video game villain you would like most fear?
Wow, out of the video games that were coming down?
Yeah. So the arcade era, essentially, of video games coming at you.
This is pretty old, but even more so than Space Invaders, which is the thing that first jumped into my mind. Mm-hmm. Just an unending wave of weird Space Invaders. But maybe Asteroids.
Asteroids?
Yeah.
That's a real throwback.
That's super
So would you
old.
be in like the tiny ship that shoots the asteroids? Or?
At any rate, you're pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Even if you're just on a planet, because even if you shoot them, a lot of times they'll just split into smaller pieces.
The bigger asteroids you shoot split into like smaller pieces, and you have to shoot them. And eventually, when they get to like pebble size, you shoot them, they like eventually go away. But
sure, yeah, but I mean that's the time of like one hit, you're dead, game over.
Yeah.
And that's how it was.
And it was an unending barrage of...
Yeah, it never stopped. There was no way to win this game.
No,
it was just...
you just got the high score.
Yeah.
This is how you won, quote unquote.
Yeah, it was a lot like life is actually now. You're gonna die. It's just a matter of when it happens. And unlike life now, you know exactly how you're gonna die in asteroids. You're gonna get hit by an asteroid.
Just a matter of time.
Right, yeah. So there's the thing, and the reason I choose asteroids is because there's no compromise, there's no negotiations, there's no peace settlements. You're just stuck with an unending barrage of space rocks coming at you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're on a planet, that's even worse, because at least in the little ship you could move around a little bit.
Yeah.
You could kind of dodge them. Can't do that in a planet. How about you, man?
There was a game back in the arcade era that I played as a kid and didn't really recognize the kind of moral impact of it till I was an adult. The name exactly escapes me, but it was a base defense game.
Okay.
Where all these missiles were coming in.
Yeah, I think it might have been called Missiles.
Yeah, missile defense,
Missile command.
Missile command, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
But essentially you had 3 bases. Mm-hmm. One big one in the center and then 2 small ones on the side. And all these missiles were coming down from the sky. And you had to shoot off your defense bullets or whatever and take down these missiles.
You had your own anti-missile missiles.
Yeah. And eventually it would get to the point where you had to compromise.
Yeah, you had to choose which base was going to die. Because you couldn't save all 3.
Yeah,
you
eventually
maybe save 2.
There would be too many missiles. And you would have to defend your center base or one of the other bases. Like, keep as many alive as possible, but one was going to die. Mm-hmm. And when you think about, like, the context of it and just what you were doing, you were making these decisions on whether these entire towns and fortresses full of people would live or die, and you couldn't save them all, no matter how hard you tried. And
wow, man, that's...
There was even, like, an end screen, like, once you finally lost the game, it was, like, an end screen that said, like, all this devastation ran rampant throughout the land. It was like nothing would grow there. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone was dead. And the soldiers at the base gave it a valiant effort, and they did all they could, but the war, there's no winners. There's always going to be unending casualties.
It's another game where you will never beat the game. Mm-hmm. It's just how long do you not lose?
So that's what I want. I guess it's kind of a cop-out because the missiles are the villains, but at the same time...
Yeah, it's similar to the one I picked there, too. Just because it never ends and you don't win.
Yeah.
There's just no winning in that
It's just
game.
like Pac-Man doesn't scare me. Like, giant chomping thing coming at me, just shoot a missile at it and it'll go woo 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 and die. Donkey Kong is throwing barrels. Like, if Donkey Kong himself was running at me, that might be a different story, but he's throwing barrels. And we have helicopters.
They don't really have those games anymore where there is no winning. You can't beat the game. That I'm aware of. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of independent games and stuff like that out there.
It's just how far you can go.
But any like AAA titles, like major publications that come out, and there are definitely ones where you have to make sacrifices. Just the top of my head, I'm thinking of like Mass Effect series.
Yeah.
Where you had to, the choices you made, some of your team would end up dying. Oops. Like, can't come back from that. And I really think there should be more games like that, because that's pretty realistic.
Yeah, the Walking Dead video game, I think it was Season 2, had a very powerful moment in it where you were essentially faced with without giving away as little as possible, no spoilers, you had to make a choice whether to sacrifice a teammate or not. And when you just take a step back from the game and say, I need to do this in order to survive, it's making a choice whether you want to sacrifice this human being in order to keep yourself alive and stave off the zombie apocalypse or war.
Which I'd do.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd make that choice.
Things, or else you die. Like, that's the thing. It's a choice that you have to make, and it's a choice that's incredibly difficult and really speaks to what your morals are, what your priorities are, and it's something that I feel like I agree with you. Games should approach more.
Yes, because life is full of morally tough decisions that may not even have the right answer. It's just what's the least worst answer. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's plenty of win-win decisions out there, but for as many, there's as many lose-lose.
Yeah, the win-win decisions don't matter as much because you win either way. It doesn't like should I have chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream?
Yeah,
there's a clear choice to be fair, but I mean, you're gonna get ice cream either way. Those are not tough decisions that we need to mull over in our lives. It's the very difficult ones that really help us see who we are as people.
Yeah, and I wonder if it doesn't do, especially children, people who aren't as experienced in life, who are playing these types of games, a disservice when they don't have to face these decisions. Because, I mean, books, movies, all that kind of stuff, you'll find that happening. Games might be the one popular genre for young minds especially, where it's often win-win, where there is no losing, where if you lose you just restart the game 10 minutes prior and you solve the puzzle then. I mean, I won't lie, I can't even count how many times I've restarted games like Skyrim or Fallout because I walked into the room and got my ass kicked and
then you come back and say, I'm going to approach this a different way.
Yeah.
Which there is some merit to that kind of thing, but it takes something away at the same time.
Yeah, there's no long-term consequences.
You sacrifice a little bit in this. But even games like Fallout, New Vegas especially, there are times where you can sacrifice like your teammates, people that you travel with for so long, to advance yourself. And there are those...
But you can still win the game, though.
Yes, you can still win the game without ever, like, interacting with anyone, being your own person, shooting everything you see. You can do it.
That being said, like Dark Souls, which is a game which is notorious for being super tough. Mm-hmm. I didn't really play much of Dark Souls because it was too tough.
Yeah.
So I guess there's that. There's a fine balance between how you want to make the game entertaining for sure and playable, but also if it's just too easy and it's a gimme to win, it's kind of a waste of time almost, really. You're not really solving the puzzle then.
Yeah, unless the game is structured very differently, like a Minecraft type game where winning, there is an end game there you can win, but that's not really the point of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it needs to be that kind of game where you can win, but that's not the point. There's an experience to be had here, other than just winning the game. That's when I could see the difficulty kind of ranging, and it doesn't really matter as much.
Sure, yeah. It'd be nice to see a resurgence of games like the old 80s games, though, where it's just like you're not going to win the game. It's just until you lose. It's kind of like pinball.
Yeah.
You can't beat pinball. You can just get a high score.
Yeah. And I can see that working really well with the kind of like turn-based global domination type games.
Ooh, that'd
be
fun.
Like the there's even like the Age of Empires game, the like Civilization. That was the big one I was trying to think of. Those 7 games, like you can create an empire, you can like expand over the world, you can do whatever you want, but have it so you can never be eternal. Make it very reminiscent of life, where eventually you will stretch yourself too thin, or something will happen. There will be a regime change at some point. It's just you try to keep your version of this civilization, your version of this life, going as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting, because you could have really massive events in a game like Civilization, empire building game, where, like an asteroid hitting or a super volcano exploding. Mm-hmm. Things that have destroyed civilizations in the past. And I've never really played an empire building game that had a very good, comprehensive, we'll say, internal strife system, where it was social changes within your own empire are affecting things.
Yeah, I mean, they've touched on some of them. It's like, your people are uneasy, like there's unrest.
They have happiness ratings, but that's about as far as they go.
Yeah. If they really make it so, like, you're, say, controlling, like, Paris or something, you're Napoleon type thing, you're fighting a war in Russia, and you're getting all these letters saying, like, there's extreme unrest in France, like, your people are going to revolt. You either need to withdraw your armies from Russia and deal with it, and then have the Russians kind of take back land you've had, or just kind of explode from within. And I haven't seen that to the extent that I would like.
Oh, yeah. They don't touch on domestic issues hardly at all. Like, can you imagine a game where you had to address things like developing property rights and women's rights and abolishing or including slavery in your civilization?
Just the trade-offs of, like, the economic versus the human rights and happiness.
Well, there's not a lot of beginning civilizations out there that didn't incorporate slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, economically speaking, it's a very efficient model, especially in the ancient times.
Yeah, if you don't have to pay your workers, you're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you'd have to feed them and stuff, but that's all you'd have to pay them.
Relatively small. I mean,
yeah. And there's a lot of arguments that America just didn't really abolish slavery, we just exported it. So it is what you call it. But yeah, it would be tough to do, but it would be very interesting to play.
I can see like a independent developer doing really well in that kind of thing, because the groundwork's already laid as far as just the general gameplay, how that's going to work out. Yeah. But the storyline, I feel like a AAA game developer is not going to approach. AAA,
unless really the only way I can see a AAA game developer approaching something like that is if they do it very much a period piece. So it's not a direct commentary, but more of a reflection on current social issues.
Which would also be fun.
It would be fun. Oh, yeah. I'd love to play like a French Revolution era game where you're trying to like keep the country from chopping your head off. Keep them fed and stuff. Meanwhile, dealing with the political intricacies of the aristocracy. Yeah. Oh, man. That'd be tough. That's why it went to shit. Because it's a tough situation. Or even better, just the American Revolution. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be a great period piece game. Which I know that Assassin's Creed and stuff has done some stuff like that, but never in the ruling aspect. Yeah, never.
They've put a game in that time setting. I'll say that much. That's about all they've really done as far as addressing the social issues that were happening at that time.
Sure, yeah. I'm a big fan of strategy games in general. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think that they've gotten a little weaker and watered down as time has gone on. I really feel like the 90s was the heyday of strategy games. There was a game publisher in particular, Koei, which could it be Japanese, might be Korean, I don't know. But they made all sorts of awesome sim games and empire building games. They had like everything from airport simulator to Genghis Khan's expansion simulator. It was they had it all, and it was really fun stuff. and really detailed. And as we've gone on, our options have really dwindled down, especially in the West. Out of the American gaming scene, there's just not a lot. You could see how many we came up with. Civilization. There's the whole, like Rome or
Total War.
The Total War series is pretty good. And there are a couple of others, sim games.
Yeah.
That are out there. There's a lot of sim games for sure that are out there, but nothing like it used to be with like the period pieces, and how it could be now. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. Though moving into AAA games that I know I'm excited about, Star Wars Battlefront 3. It's coming, and it's coming soon.
That was huge. Star Wars Battlefront was massive.
Yeah, Star Wars Battlefront, for those of you that don't know, the first one came out, was well-reviewed, was pretty popular. Battlefront 2 just shattered the mold.
It's worth playing.
It's a game I still play today, and it was released, It was on the Xbox era. So it was before the 360 one. Like early 2000s, maybe?
Oh, yeah. It's probably at least 10, 12 years old.
Yeah. A game that's 10 to 12 years old that I still play consistently because it is it's a shooting game, third-person shooter. It's set in the Star Wars universe. You generally pick between the Rebels or the Empire, or you can pick between the droids or the clones, and you fight off in these massive battles against each other. You have probably around 75 to 100 different people on each team on the map at once.
Right.
Depending on which map you're on. Some of the smaller ones you have less, some of the bigger ones you have more. But it's mostly, you can play online, but the way I've always played it and the way I found the most fun is it's all computer controlled people. Mm-hmm. That you're fighting against, and it's these massive grand scale battles. You have Jedi running through there cutting people down. You'll have Sith, and you'll see like someone being force choked and thrown off into the distance while you're having this epic gun out with this whole line of droids. It was just a fantastic game that everyone seemed to just get real behind, and there was a huge surge behind getting the Battlefront 3, the next game in the line, produced. And with LucasArts and the turmoil it's been in, they've had a couple prototypes for the game that have been scrapped as the game company has been handed over to different producers. But apparently Star Wars Battlefront 3, or Star Wars Battlefront, I think they're calling it as the working title, will be at the Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim on April 16th through 19th.
Oh.
They will have it there, and I assume if they have it there, they're in the beta testing phase at least.
Is that Star Wars Celebration, is that like like the con that Disney's putting on just for Star Wars?
Yes. It's a just Star Wars themed con, 3 days of everything Star Wars you could hope for.
Yeah, apparently rumor has it that Star Wars isn't going to have any presence at things like San Diego Comic-Con or anything like that they're just going to do their own thing. And
which they can entirely support.
It's Disney at this point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course they can.
It's Disney, it's Star Wars. It's going to be just packed.
It's probably going to be a pretty awesome game, too. Mm-hmm. Star Wars, it's a tough franchise to talk about without insulting somebody somewhere along the line.
But George Lucas.
Yeah, well, I don't care about insulting George Lucas.
He gave us the prequels.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
Yeah. Well, he also started it all, though. So, again, you can't hate the guy completely, but a lot of decisions that he made, especially after, I'll say, straight up, after Return of the Jedi. After the third movie, it seemed to me that he pretty much was in it for the money. That he didn't care as much about the story. He cared more about the cash. That's the only reason I can explain Ewoks.
Ewoks, Gungans.
Pod
racing.
And the next 3 movies were pretty shit. I'm really comfortable saying that publicly. That the movies
seems to be the general consensus.
They were pretty. Yeah, especially compared to the first 2, they were shit.
Mm-hmm.
Total. But the video games have really kept the Star Wars franchise alive throughout the turmoil of shitty movies. To be fair and to give honorable mentions, I guess that Clone Wars cartoon's really good too, and a lot of other books. But yeah, like even way before, we go back to like TIE Fighter. It was X-Wing.
Yeah,
X-Wing was a video game that came out before TIE Fighter, I think.
Yeah,
and it was just a pilot space shooter game.
N64, right, on that one?
Yeah, I know it was on the PC as well, and I'm pretty sure that was in the 90s, but it was pretty badass. Yeah, and they've kept up with it. The video games have really kept the interest in the Star Wars universe alive. More so than I'd say the last 3 movies.
Yeah, I would say the last 3 movies have been universally panned by critics and Star Wars fans alike. Whereas you have some misses in the video games, but there have been some massive successes in this video game line.
Force Unleashed was another good series. Yeah, it's all there, and so it's already had a pretty good success rate, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how Disney's, now that they have control over everything. I really don't, just based off of what they've done with the comic books, which have gotten so much better.
Who was producing them before? Dark Horse?
Dark Horse, yeah. So for like 20 years, Dark Horse was making Star Wars comic books, and by and large, they weren't all that great. Yeah.
Not to knock Dark Horse. I mean, I have a Zelda Hyrule Historia book from them, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, they do a lot of licensing stuff.
Yeah, they do a lot of licensed stuff, but their Star Wars line was not great. It was okay.
No, but
it was not great.
And it was long. I mean, that's just, you can't have a continuing series for 20 years in print and have, AAA knock it out of the park every time. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, it got kind of wah-wah down the road. And they started doing a lot of characters and stuff that no one ever heard of or even cared about. But it was still set in the Star Wars universe. Since then, Disney has bought Marvel, bought Star Wars, all that, and Marvel started making the Star Wars comic books again here in 2015. And they've been way, way better than the Star Wars books recently. So just if you take a look at that, and frankly, you look at just between movies and video games and comics and all that, comics is pretty minor compared to those other two genres. Pretty minor. And just the attention and the effort that they've put into that, I'm really excited for the upcoming movies. Because if they put that much effort in the comics, then I'm sure they've put at least that much effort and attention to detail in the movies and in the video games. So I think we're going to see some really good stuff come out. I think the whole Star Wars being bought by Disney is going to save Star Wars as a franchise and keep it going for another 30 years or so. Yeah, otherwise it was really petering out.
Yeah, which is unfortunate to say for something that I know was a huge part of my childhood.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
It was just essential to like who I was. I mean, I was born on May 4th, to give you a peek into my life. Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
So I was literally born to be a Star Wars fan.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's been a huge part of my life. I'm extremely excited to see what we get, not only with the next Star Wars Battlefront game, with movies, continuing comics, everything that they could put out. They can make a puppet show of Star Wars, and I'd love to see it.
Now, the most crap I've heard about from the movies and what I've seen online and stuff with the new trailer that they put out was of course, the lightsaber.
Yeah, the
lightsaber that had the hilt.
The lightsaber with the hilt that came out, and God, there was so much hate over a lightsaber.
So much hate over a lightsaber.
I thought it was cool.
I thought it was pretty cool too.
I want to see, because the traditional lightsaber combats are like big flowing arcs, and it's a very smooth motion that the hilted lightsaber couldn't support.
Yeah.
So I want to see a new style of lightsaber combat. I want to see some Jedi coming in with the long flowing thing, and he just goes block, stab.
Oh yeah, you actually. I don't know. I'll pimp out the. I'll plug the comics a little bit more here, because you see in the first 2 books, Darth Vader especially gets a hold of Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, turns it on, and is just manipulating it with the Force. Oh, and it's nothing like you've seen terrifying. In the movies. Yeah, it's terrifying, because he's just throwing this lightsaber like a living bullet and just ripping people to shreds with it. Yeah, like Luke doesn't know what to do. He's freaking out, and
I wouldn't know what to do either.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to do either. You know, you pull out this indestructible sword of energy, and the dude just rips it out of your hands with a thought and starts cutting up everybody around you because he feels like it and he's thinking about it. By the way, he has his own over here too.
Yeah, he's holding his. He doesn't want to use his for that.
Yeah, he doesn't want to dent his or use up the battery in his. You can't dent the lightsaber. I guess you could the hilt.
Hilt.
Yeah. It's badass, and it's something like, damn, if you saw that in the movies, that's how you use the lightsaber. I really thought that the whole lightsaber technology was underutilized in the Star Wars universe in general. And I know that we've had discussions in the past. I can't remember if we've had them on the podcast here, of how just like physics in Star Wars has been not really appropriately addressed. Take the Death Star for a prime example. We'll veer away from lightsabers for a second. But you have something like essentially the size of a moon that you can fly around. Yeah. You don't even need a laser like a planet destroying laser on it. You just have to put yourself in a geosynchronous orbit where you just block the sun the light that planet gets for, say, a week or a month.
Yeah,
done. Planet's destroyed. It's
people
over.
Will start bowing to your demands.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that you have a laser on it that will destroy the entire planet, but you don't need to go that far. That's how powerful something like a Death Star truly can be.
Just like, our lightsaber's down for maintenance for a while. We'll destroy it a different way.
We'll just get close enough to completely fuck their tides or wind system, the weather system on this planet. So it, just destroys cities and civilizations with giant tsunamis and shit. As you manipulate the gravity and all that. It's easy, probably easier to do than creating and powering a laser capable of destroying a planet. At any rate, lightsabers had the same kind of concept. I was like, man, they just don't ever utilize these properly. Like, how come we don't see an X-Wing or a TIE fighter or some other small ship that is just decked out with lightsabers all around? You could just kamikaze, and you're not really going to die, but you could just drive this ship through Star Destroyers, through whatever. It's invulnerable. It just rip right through things. It's essentially a giant flying lightsaber. Why wouldn't you have that? Prime.
Great. Or at least like a lightsaber cannon or something where you can just slice through a ship.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff like that. Because lightsabers also are like the perfect defense, since they reflect all the lasers and stuff that are being shot at them. So you have a vessel that is just shelled out like a turtle or a porcupine or whatever, with just lightsabers everywhere, or a massive lightsaber, and you could shoot at it all day long, it'll just bounce off. You could drive right through things. It'd be so powerful.
People would say like, oh, it's really expensive. You only need the one ship, and you can take down anything.
Need one. Yeah,
just like forget the fleet. Just invest everything in this one. Like, make 3 of them, then you're set. Like, you can destroy anything.
All sorts of stuff like that. So how people are freaking out about a hilt on a lightsaber? Be like, oh, are you freaking out about that because you didn't think of it first? You know, I like how the people are arguing about the physics of it.
Yeah.
What the fuck? It's fiction, first off. So I don't think we truly know the rules of the physics involved. But even it's very underutilized, and having a hilt only makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Haters can't dampen my excitement for this movie.
No, not at all.
Well, I'll be there midnight premiere.
Oh yeah,
you'll see me.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm really pumped up for it, and I was surprised that I got pumped up, and it wasn't until I saw the trailer and I was like, "Holy shit, this looks awesome!"
Yeah,
I was excited for Star Wars again. I was so excited to be excited for Star Wars again.
I feel like a kid again. Like, yes, Star Wars is coming out.
Exactly. I felt just so giddy, like Christmas morning, kind of.
God, I remember watching episode 1 in theaters. I was like so pumped. I had bought like the Anakin Skywalker pod racing thing. I had like the goggles and everything. I went in there. Then I came out of there. I just like took off the goggles and just like walked with them in my hand back to the car. Just like head down. I was like, what was that? What happened? I was like, it was like a punch to the gut. But I never thought I'd be this excited for it again, honestly. But
me too. I really thought that Lucas killed it for me with the last 3 movies. Mm-hmm. I was so upset. And I'm really kind of a big hater on Return of the Jedi. You know, I have a lot of issues with that movie. Yeah, a lot of, and I have those with a lot of movies that are involving war and combat, even fantasy ones. Just when people are making decisions that don't make any tactical sense whatsoever. And that was just, Return of the Jedi was just chock full of just stupid decisions. And I take issue with, that's just my same reason I take issue with things like the Walking Dead TV show. It's like,
why would you do that?
Yeah,
in that situation?
I get it that it's entertaining to witness, but it's not consistent with the character. Yeah, why would you do that? How did you survive this long, and you're going to
being so stupid?
Such a stupid decision at this point. Yeah, it does not compute. And the last 3 movies, so shitty.
Just in a variety of ways.
Only Star Wars movies I've only seen once. I haven't even watched them a second time. Why would I? Why would I waste the 6 to 8 hours of my life? No. However, this upcoming Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm so pumped.
I'm so excited.
One of the things that, this might be a little controversial, but I don't think I should say African American because there is no America or Africa in the Star Wars universe, but the Black Stormtrooper that we saw in the desert.
We saw in the desert who was very confused.
Well, about like he got abandoned in the desert, or whatnot. And that just, I'm intrigued because they're really starting to approach a character, perhaps, that hasn't been approached much. I mean, I guess that they're talking about stormtroopers being all clones initially of Boba Fett's dad or whatever. Jango Fett. Yeah, and that was approached in the movies.
Yeah.
But I don't think Jango was a black guy.
He was not.
So, and I'm pretty sure that in the books, they talked about how the whole cloning of stormtroopers ended up, it didn't continue as a practice. Mm-hmm. And they started just, recruiting stormtroopers. So we'll see. And,
something that makes sense.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that, because Disney's flat out said that everything other than the movies, it's not canon at this point. That all these books that were official and canon, not anymore.
Which you kind of have to at this one, because there is such a wealth of material.
Yeah,
you're eventually going to cross some wires. You're going to mix something up, and someone will say, hey, that goes against this one thing that this one book said. And if you keep to the movies, it's relatively simple to keep in line.
Yeah, much
it's
easier.
Just kind of like a necessary evil.
It's really the easiest way to get to bridge that continuity gap. We'll say that's going to be created, and to just give you the freedom to do whatever the fuck you feel like, make a great story, and not feel confined by these books that came out. So
yeah, true.
I'm not hating on it. I know a lot of people are upset because they were reading these books and they felt that this was the story. But hey, that's the way things go.
Still good books.
Yeah.
If you liked them before, you'd still like them now.
That's just it. Just accept it as a story. Just view this as an alternate version or whatever.
It's almost like it's fiction. Anyways, we're getting to the point in the podcast where we raise a glass to something that we talked about today that we feel deserves more recognition.
Ooh. I'll let you go first because I don't want to steal yours.
Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to raise a glass to kind of returning to a older genre of video games. The unwinnable games, the text-based games, the story games.
Nice.
Something that, while not lost in recent games, seems to be harder to find.
Yeah, and there's a place for it. I think it's great that kids nowadays, or younger generations, can experience these types of entertainment and not have to try and scrounge and find the older style. And this will probably be better than what we were playing way back in the day, too.
I will say, if you're looking for, like, good, either meaningful or, like, great mechanics or something, the YouTube channel Extra Credits has a incredible recommend section that I would say you should check out. They recommend a lot of games that go deeper into the genre and provide a great experience that you don't see as much in the AAA games.
Cool.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Cheers to returning to this style of video games, I guess. So what do you got?
You know what? I'll go with New Beginnings then.
New Beginnings.
New Beginnings, or a new take on an old thing. It's pretty similar to yours, but same. We've had this interesting theme that I don't think was really intentional, but with Star Wars, with Pixels, and with the Interstellar text-based game, it's all stuff that is pretty old. You know, it's like 30 years old type stuff, and they're having a resurgence, a new beginning.
A rebirth.
A rebirth, yes. So here's to, Genesis, and new beginnings, and rebirths. And that is my horny goat.
Yeah. But anyways, if you would like to see more of us, we are on Facebook at Geek News and Craft Brews, all spelled out. We are on Tumblr, Twitter, YouTube, and iTunes, of course. All these links will be in the description of all the YouTube videos that we post, which we also post to our Facebook page. The YouTube schedule, this will be released on a Friday, which if you're listening to it, it's already been released, so good job, you found us.
Yeah, well done.
Bonus video coming on Saturday, and normally highlights would come throughout the week, but I'm actually going on vacation, so I'm dealing with like hotel internet and stuff, so it's going to be sporadic if they come at all.
So they'll be on there,
They'll come eventually.
Don't freak out.
But also check out on the Facebook page, beer profiles are coming on Sunday. Check out all the beers we drink on this show, where you can find them, all the information you need on, and what we think of them.
Yeah.
Also, on the Facebook page, we'll post kind of like daily updates, stuff that we found interesting, and little things that, while not big enough to talk about on the channel, they don't have enough content. They're still interesting and still stuff that mattered to us, and we want to get the good news out to you all.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff. It's definitely worth just liking and getting the notifications for the Facebook page, if nothing else. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff that comes through.
As always, we encourage you to share anything you like with your friends, any of our posts, videos, anything. Just help us get the word out, because that is how we kind of reach people, is word of mouth, really.
Yeah, and go ahead and tell us if there's anything that you'd like us to comment on.
Yes, because we are always open to suggestions. It's a very loose format if you haven't figured that out already.
Right.
We just essentially have like a whiteboard that has some notes on it that we kind of go off of.
That we sometimes reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thanks a lot for watching, everybody.
Yes, thank you as always. There will be more news next week, so we will be back. Until then, cheers.
Cheers, y'all.